For as long as people have been having babies, there has been one question that just absolutely captivates everyone. It's this huge source of fun, family bets, and honestly, it's one of the greatest little mysteries in life.
Yep, you guess it. Is it a boy or a girl? The second you find out you're expecting, the guessing game is on. And really, that anticipation, isn't that just the best part?
So, let's think about it. Way before we had all this fancy technology like ultrasounds and DNA tests, that 9-month wait was anything but passive. Oh no, expecting parents basically turned into detectives, right? They were hunting for any clue, any little hint they could find to solve the big mystery. So, how on earth did they do it?
Well, they leaned on this incredibly rich history of tradition and observation, and what we now lovingly call old wives' tales. So, let's take a little trip through some of this amazing folklore. Now, just so we're all on the same page, this is all about tradition and fun, not hard science. But it's so cool to see what generations of people have believed.
So, what are these signs we're talking about? Let's do a quick, rapid-fire tour of some of the most common beliefs out there for predicting a baby's gender. Ready?
Okay, first up is one you have probably heard a million times, the baby's heart rate. The story goes that if that little heart is just racing along, we're talking over 140 beats per minute, then you've got a girl on the way. If it's a bit more chill, below 140, then it's a sign you're having a boy.
Next, let's look at the baby bump itself. According to folklore, it's all about how you're carrying. The idea is that if you have this super prominent bump that sticks straight out, that means you're having a girl. But if you're carrying a little less out there, well, that supposedly points to a boy.
Oh man, the not so fun part, morning sickness. Tradition has a really strong opinion on this one. If you are having a super rough go with nausea in those first few months, the old tales say it's a girl, maybe because of higher hormone levels. But if you're having a relatively easy ride, well, that could be a sign it's a boy.
And of course, we have to talk about the classic food cravings. Folklore suggests that if you just can't get enough sweets, like cake, chocolate, you name it, you're probably expecting a boy. On the other hand, if you find yourself diving for potato chips, pretzels, anything and everything salty, tradition says a little girl is on the way.
Okay, this next one is a little bit cheeky. The old story says that a baby girl shares her beauty, giving her mom that famous, radiant pregnancy glow. But if you're carrying a boy, the tale goes that he might steal a little of that beauty, which could lead to duller skin. Kind of funny, right?
And for our last bit of folklore, let's talk about timing. The story goes that boys are just impatient to get out and meet everyone, so they often show up a week or two early. Girls, on the other hand, are said to take their sweet time, happy to go the full 40 weeks or even a little bit longer.
Okay, so we've run through the tales, the heart rate, the bump shape, the cravings, but this brings us to the biggest question of all, doesn't it? Is there any truth to any of this stuff? Do these signs actually, work?
All right, now this is where things get really interesting. The source material we're looking at today claims that, based on just observation, these signs have a 70 to 80% accuracy rate. I mean, wow, that sounds pretty high, doesn't it? It's way better than just flipping a coin, that's for sure.
So, a 70 to 80% chance, that's really tempting to believe in. But let's just pause for a second and ask ourselves a real question. When we're talking about one of the most incredible, life-changing moments you'll ever have, is that really reliable enough to start painting the nursery pink or blue?
So let's step out of the fun world of guessing games for a moment and walk into the science lab. Because, in the 21st century, we've kind of moved past folklore and right into the world of scientific certainty. And here is the absolute key, and it comes directly from the source material itself. It says, flat out, these things are not 100% correct. So what's the deal? Well, a lot of these tales stick around because they're based on real things that happen during pregnancy. Of course, morning sickness is caused by hormones. But they just don't reliably connect to gender. They're amazing, fun traditions, not medical facts.
So what is the modern, for sure way to know? It's actually super simple and incredibly reliable. Step 1, and this is always step 1, is talk to your doctor. And step 2 involves modern medical tests. The anatomy scan ultrasound around 20 weeks is a super common way, but you can know even earlier now with non-invasive blood tests that can check for gender with almost perfect accuracy.
So science can give us a totally clear answer. The mystery can be solved long before the big day. But that brings us to one last kind of philosophical thought about this whole experience. With all of our amazing technology, we have the power to know so much. We can just completely remove all the guesswork.
For anyone who wants it, certainty is totally possible.
But let's be real for a second. Where's the fun in that? Maybe, just maybe, the real magic isn't in knowing the answer ahead of time, but in those 9 months of just wondering and guessing and dreaming about this amazing little person who's about to change your world. What do you think?